Hello, this is Sandy with Needs a Ribbon, and I'm coming to you with a creation of my own. I call it the One Sheet Wonder Box. I'm going to take this off a minute. Sorry, my box actually got a little crushed because my cat laid on it. Nature of the beast around here. This is my One Sheet Wonder Box. I will post instructions at the end. And I may even include some additional sizes that I've come up with, but this is the One Sheet Wonder. It uses a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, and let's take a look at the inside. And it is all made from one sheet with just a few minimal cuts. This is on here because I give instructions on how to run your ribbon if you want it to open, or you could tie it shut. I don't recommend this ribbon. It lays differently. Use a different kind of ribbon, or you can make a belly band. And again, I have instructions in my on my thing for how to do that. I believe this is 2 inches wide by 11 inches. And then you just bend it around and use a little tear and tape. But we'll deal with that in a minute. In the meantime, let me show you the 8.5 by 11 box. Isn't that just wild how, and this is 2 inch, an inch and a half high. These are all 1.5 inches high. I have since come up with a different model, which I will share at the end. But yeah, this is the 1.5 inch model, and they're all 1.5 inches high, and this one uses an 8.5 by 11 sheet. And once you get the method down for these, they're gonna go really fast. Trust me, you'll wanna do this for your gift. I won't be showing you the 8.5 by 11 anymore, it just fell off my table. You're gonna wanna be doing this for all your holiday crafting. So let me just share, and again, I will post this at the end. I have some great instructions here. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna start out with a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. And we are going to score it. On my trimmer, it's nice because if I just push it all the way to this edge, that's 1.5 inches. I need to get the cutter out of the way. This is the scorer. We're going to score 1.5 inches on every side. That is how easy this gets. In fact, I shared this on a meeting recently, and one gal, while I was making it, found the instructions so easy, she made one during my demo. So that's how easy it is. So we're going to make the 1.5 inch score line all the way around, and this is going to make your box edges, most of them. Okay, now I need to bring this over because I don't have them memorized. So we're going to score at, now we're going to need to score at, I'm going to have to pull this out. And when you need tear and tape, so you need a piece of cardstock. Do not make these out of DSP. Cardstock, tear and tape, and scissors, and a trimmer with a scoring capability. That's all you need to make these. So with 1.5, 5 1/4 will be our next mark, and we're only going to do, so 2 sides will only have the 1.5 in, or 1.5 and 10.5, and then so 5 1/4, and then 6 3/4, and 5 1/4 to 6 3/4. If you haven't figured that out, that's the side height of the box. So that's another 1.5 inches right there. We are done with our trimmer for this outside of decorating, and again, we'll come back to that. So this is your box. Here, let me show you. I'm just dropping stuff everywhere. Wow, way to be professional. So this is kind of what your box will look like. This is the outside. There's where you're gonna place your tear and tape. So that's essentially what you're structuring. It is 1.5, 5 1/4, 6 3/4, and then 10.5. Is that right? 10.5. And then 1.5 in on both. And then we're gonna do some trimming, okay? Thought I'd give you a great visual as we dig in here. So you can either go in straight. I recommend that you come in at a slight angle up to that score line. Just gives it a slightly easier polished look, and then you're just going to trim right along that score line. And then we'll come in over here. And again, I call this my one sheet wonder box, and this is a Sandy original. Okay, so we've done that part. We need to trim right here. And again, you can either go in straight or you can make this slightly angled, and that's just going to help the corners be a little bit better. So it's a really thin slice of pizza. Like you need to share a piece of pizza with your enemy and you don't really like them, or the girl in school that was mean to you, something like that. And you see, I'm almost done cutting. Now, you also may want a bone folder. It does help. It is not mandatory, but it can make the process easier. I apparently don't have one. So next, what you want to do is you want to take, and your fingers are really good enough. And you see I'm going all in one direction. And then we want to, oh, I forgot, you guys didn't tell me. I missed a flap. Whoops. So then we're gonna fold those up and burnish them a little bit. Like that. And I like to call, since we did all our score lines going that way, you see how the box goes together. So we're going to call this the outside of the box. And we're going to place, much like this, this is how your tear and tape will lay. And again, all of this is in my instructions, which I need to move right now because I'm about to put tape on them. Hopefully I'm mostly in camera. And again, unless you're putting cement bricks in here, the tear and tape will sufficiently hold it. Flip it over and do this again. And now you like to go from the inside out. In the inside out, like that. Now, if you're gonna decorate your box with pattern paper or other cardstock or whatever, now is the time you want to pause and do that. So I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to bring the instructions back in because I do not, again, have this memorized, and I did not scatter Post-its around. So here is what I say in my instructions for layering measurements. If you want a continuous pattern, and by what I mean by a continuous pattern, do I have an example? In this one, I did. Continuous, it literally is just continuous. And I think I'll want that for this lovely festive paper. So for a continuous pattern, you want to cut 3.5 by 12 inch strip. Okay, so let's doing that. So 3.5 by 12. And this is a directional paper. It goes this way. And I know my box, the way I'm going to use it is going to go this way. So we want to make sure our 3.5 by 12. And then, as the instructions say, then you're going to cut 1 1/4, and 8 3/4, and 1 1/4. So we want to keep this continuing. Continuous. 1 1/4. We want to keep them in correct order. 8 3/4. And I forgot to tell you, our finished box size for the 12 by 12 sheet is 3 3/4 by 9 inches by 1.5 high. So then we need another 1 1/4 piece, and then you're left with about a 3/4 inch little strip. Okay, that is, so why don't we go ahead and lay those down. So you will need some glue if you're going to decorate your box, and you need to decide if you what side you want to call your top and your bottom. I'm going to call this my top. So this will be, as I'm looking at the box, the left side, and I buried that piece. So again, we need to make sure if you want that look. This paper, I don't know how much it would matter, but I like it. The look of the continuous. And that one will go there. And I like using glue because then I can smush that glue around and squish it into the cardstock and move around that excess. That's part of why I like glue. So we need to make sure, yep, that's our continuous. So that's the top. And this would also be the time that you'd want to, that would be your inside of your box if you're going to decorate that. And again, that piece will be 3 3/4 by 8 3/4. Excuse me. Is that right? I believe that is correct. Yep, 3 1/2 by 8 3/4. Something like that. It's in the instructions. How about that? But we're not going to do that for this one. I'm going to put this paper aside. I'm not done because this box is going to get assembled like this. I want this decorated. So we can decide to, we're not going to get it to exactly match up unless we want to do some fancy trimming. But we do want to make sure that it is, and I don't think it's going to matter that much because you got a little bit of cardstock gap. But let's go ahead and we want to make sure we're paying attention to the direction of our paper. If you have paper with a direction, and that is going to be 1 1/4. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut the whole thing to make it easier. 1 1/4 by 8 3/4. Or it would be 3 1/4 off. And I'm just going to do it that way. And pray that I just did fast math in my head correctly. Would you look at that? I did. Okay. I am done with my trimmer. I'm going to, and even with me teaching you, do you see how fast these go together? I love One Sheet Wonder stuff because, partly because there's so little waste. I have a One Sheet Wonder book holder that I have also in a different video. But again, part of it is because there's so little waste. You're maximizing that cardstock instead of having all these strips of odd sizes. So let's go ahead and assemble. We're going to take and assemble our bottom first. I did not line it, but again, it's kind of like making the top layer. You could line it with some DSP or whatever. So I recommend that you take and square that up, square those up, and it is going to be a little bit off because you cut a diagonal. Nobody's going to be the wiser. And that one is off. And so you want to square that up, square those tops up, and we're going to come over here and we're going to build our top. So again, I'm going to pull that up. And you want to just square that up. And you see how fast you could make a whole bunch of these for gift packaging or whatever your need is. So again, other than the measurements being different, the idea is the same with the 8.5 by 11 box. Here's another example of the 8.5 by 11 box. And I closed this one with the belly band. Now, I do have instructions in here. I believe I did. So if you are going to decorate it, I did not put it on here. Okay, but in any case, if you're going to decorate it, what you want to do is take and lay out your ribbon and run tear and tape along it. Then we can use this. We'll fake it because I did not bring any ribbon. You're gonna take a piece longer than 12 inches. So let's say 14, 15 inches. And you're gonna run tear and tape along it. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna start and you're gonna put that in here. We'll pretend this is, and we're gonna peel off the tear and tape and we're gonna wrap, 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 and then trim. And that is how you will get the ribbon so your box opens. If you want a ribbon like a belly band, that's a different issue. But this, let me remind you of what we started with. Again, I wrapped. This does not wrap as well. I would not recommend this polka dot burlap type ribbon. You can see it just keeps, I'd have to use some really strong adhesive or hot glue, and even then it might bite it. Other ribbons have been fine. Here is, so here's another one where I did the continuous ribbon and hit it, and you see how nice it lays. It's just this particular ribbon that was fighting it. There are some tricks, but not worth teaching, that might have solved it, but bottom line is I don't recommend it if you're gonna do the ribbon decoration. Here is one that I did a 2-inch height. See, 1.5, a 2-inch height. And I can post those instructions. I have them right here. It does shrink the box a bit in your overall size. It makes it an 8 by 3 box. And I closed it with the belly band. These are my instructions, which I will include. But, made that one. So playing with that same one sheet wonder idea, I tried a 2.5-inch box. It does not work. They're just, your flaps end up being longer. Again, my cat's been sitting on these. The flaps end up being longer. You're not going to get a 2.5-inch square box or 2.5 by anything. It's not worth it, because the whole reason I like this idea is the simplicity of you score in the same dimension around the entire perimeter of the paper. Here is an example of, I'm burying you in ideas. I like that. So here is what the 8.5 by 11 sheet will look like when you do the measurements. Sorry, I thought my camera turned off. And how you mark the stuff. So, I've played with a bunch of different ideas, and this is what I've come up with. And again, they're really easy. There is so little paper waste, including with your designer series paper, that I highly recommend you try them. I used a nice bright paper so you can kind of see. This was I tried a 3-inch by 1.5. It was a disaster. Again, I played with some others. You can't go higher than 2 inches around the edge. It just doesn't work. Without getting into more, yes, you could do a 2.5-inch deep box. I've done those, but you would be deviating from the simplicity, again, of this box. So that being said, that is burying in boxes. So this is a 8.5 by 11 one. My other one went flying off the table. Here is that's the 2-inch high one. Again, that worked. and another 1.5 inch high box, and then the one we just made and this disaster. But I just thought I'd share. I worked on all the different varieties for you. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial a lot. I certainly have had fun teaching these and educating you, and really hope that you try them. If you do, reach out to me, bows@needsaribbon.com, bows@needsaribbon.com, and or just share it on my social media if you made one of my One Sheet Wonder boxes. And say which size paper. I mean, not that I couldn't tell, but others may not be able to tell. They're just seeing a box, you know, what if you used a 12 by 12 or an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And that is all I have for today. I thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, goodbye.